Is click between frames cheating? Yes. Actually, after likely succeeding in pissing off half of GD Twitter, I have to say that the answer is definitely more complex than that, and that the implications of it aren't as bad as you may imagine, as I'll tell you by the end of the video. So let's get into it. First of all, what is CBF, or in full, click between frames? CBF is a mod created by Sidzi, or whatever it's pronounced like, which is currently available on the GD mod loader. What this mod allows the player to do is quite simple, as it allows the game to register inputs between two visual frames, or more technically between two game ticks. In short, this allows the player to perform much more accurate inputs, increasing precision. Now that we have defined what CBF is, we can finally declare the final verdict, the real truth, your actual answer. Is CBF a cheat? And the answer is yes. CBF is a cheat, by all means and definitions. CBF is a cheat, case closed. And everyone who uses it should correctly be banned off the in-game leaderboards. However, since so many people still insist that it for some reason isn't, I decided to actually analyze the situation thoroughly and explain in a much more logical and critical manner, unlike most people have done so far. First of all, by definition, a cheat in video game terminology is a method which creates an advantage beyond normal gameplay, either by third-party software from within the game or by third-party hardware. This by definition makes CBF a cheat, and even the game developer Robtop has stated that he will not rate levels verified with it, implying that he recognizes that it is a cheat. Despite this, many people still consider CBF to be completely legit by game standards, despite the definition of cheating proving it wrong in every single instance. Which is why I decided to personally disprove many of the pro-CBF legitimacy points. I've checked most of the pro-CBF legitimacy points so far, and these are the most common ones. 1. It allows for equal opportunity, so it isn't cheating. 2. The pointer grade demon list allows it, so it isn't cheating. 3. FPS bypass was allowed, so CBF should be allowed. And 4. CBF doesn't change GD physics, so it isn't cheating, and Robtop is wrong. Let's dissect them and prove them wrong in detail. Starting from the first one, which states it shouldn't be a cheat because it allows for equal opportunity between different monitor refresh rates. And is available to everyone, since as we all know, the GD mod loader is free and downloadable for basically all devices, including even iOS as of late. First of all, it being available to everyone doesn't make it legitimate. For one, we have already established that CBF is by definition cheating. And if we were going by this point, then speed hacking is also available to everyone to GDH, which is a mod menu, which is also free unlike Mega Hack. Yet speed hacking still isn't considered legit, which it should be by these people's own standards. If you don't like speed hacking, then let's consider what almost every other defender of CBS legitimacy doesn't consider: other games. In many games, such as for example the Fallout games, you can easily access the developer console and disable collisions. Does this make it not a cheat? And in games like, for example, Spore, you can also use the console to give yourself a lot of money. Does it make it legit? I think we all know the answer to this one. Now with this out of the way, let's move to the second one. The pointer grade demon list allows it, so it isn't cheating. First of all, the demon list kinda isn't a game, and can dictate shit on what GD's rules are. And second, the demon list also allowed physics bypass at one point, which was not in fact available to everyone for a slight period of time since it was behind the Mega Hack V8 paywall, which would conflict with their first point. If something is legitimate by pointer grade standards, it isn't necessarily legitimate by game standards. And pointer grade has, at almost every time, had slightly different, more permissive rules on records in order to appease the player base. And also, not gonna lie, but pointer grade did something that's really counterproductive from themselves, considering CBF verified levels can get rated according to Robtop and allow us to be rated to be placed, but whatever. Over to the next one. FPS bypass was allowed, so CBF isn't cheating. And this is true, FPS bypass used to be cheating. but was later allowed first on the demon list and later by RobTop on the in-game leaderboards, and to be used to verify levels. This usually voluntarily ignores the fact that FPS bypass wasn't available to everyone in 2.1 since mobile devices didn't have access to it for quite a long time, which again, first point, but also ignores the proper flaw that FPS bypass sort of fixed or capitalized on. That flaw being the FPS dependent physics of 2.1, which technically speaking would have made having an over 60Hz monitor cheating, which is why FPS bypass was in the end allowed first on the list and then by RobTop themselves. Another counter to this point can also be found in a pastebin Kiba made in response to the CBF blocker in nullscapes, which we'll talk about. Summarizing the part on the FPS bypass from the pastebin, the FPS bypass effects were able to be replicated in GD vanilla to external hardware, as proved by Powered by Pi at the time, which is not possible with CBF since, as I'll prove countering in the next point, CBF does in fact change physics. Which means FPS bypass and click between frames are completely different situations, completely different third-party software, and completely different shades at their respective time. One was providing a solution for a game physics problem, the other is providing a quote-unquote solution for a non-existent one. Now with the previous three out of the way, here's the last one, the last stand of the pro-CBF legitimacy claimants. CBF doesn't change the physics, so it isn't cheating, and RobTop is wrong. First of all, this is incredibly wrong. CBF does in fact change physics, as Kiba explained in the pastebin link down below, which I'll not directly cite to not get into much technicalities, but you are free to read it. So I'ma be real here. There are a lot of reasons you can criticize RobTop for not being the best community manager and developer for time. For example, the wall rating and moderator system thing, which I'll eventually make a video on, just to wait. But until proven otherwise, jump dash is kind of his game, and therefore he can kind of dictate what the rules of be legitimate according to his game's standards are. Like for example in other games such as basically close to all multiplayer games, it is explicitly said in the terms of service that cheating as well as hacking or buffing, for example in GD's case all three, can lead to your account being illegitimate and potentially banned. I've seen people complain that RobTop is dictating rules and being the authority of the competitive scene. Not only this is false, but my god is it arrogant and hypocritical. RobTop never was the authority of the quote-unquote competitive scene, since said competitive scene never relied on RobTop in the first place. And assuming they talk about point accurate here, which realistically they most likely do, as I said above when countering the second point, they have always had different rules from the main game, which means the competitive scene has always regulated itself. Which means they are pretty much complaining about a problem that either doesn't exist or that they created. Now, after completely dismantling the idea that CBF is legitimate by GD standards, I feel like it's basically necessary to discuss the infamous CBF blockers. These have probably been and still are the main CBF related topic that people are still discussing and debating about, and not in a calm manner. Many think that the creators don't have the right to put such a thing, and I've been literally personally told that the creators basically don't have power over how the level is to be played, and the verifier does instead, which is honestly bullshit. Because when I make the level, I decided how you played it basically by just building it, but I suppose that's too hard to understand. Now onto the main topic. Are CBF blockers right? My answer is more of an in-between this situation. The creator has every right to build anything that respects game TOS, and therefore creators can do whatever they want with the levels, no matter what the top players will scream about it. Many complain about the CBF blockers being immoral, except I don't really recall these same people complaining about the 2.1 no-clip anti-cheat, since no-clip is also cheating. Unlike this example, no one complained this hard about the entirety of Heliopolis by Minecraft, which was in 2.1 supposed to be possible on only 60Hz, which would have severely dampened the average list player skill, considering they all played on 360 pretty much. So what's my final verdict on CBF blockers? Many think they are useless, and that the player who wants to use CBF will just make a copy and beat it there. But actually this means that the blocker actually works. It prevents stats from being gained, unless the original level is no-clip or cheated later on. Given some time, I think PointerCrate will also allow this kind of records in the future, considering one, the rules, and since they also do currently allow records on slightly different levels to be registered as legit anyway, which is why I don't see why they wouldn't. Not that this is a good thing, game standard speaking. Other more practical opinions against blockers are that they could break in the future and that they just cause more drama. The first one, while true, doesn't take into account the fact that levels can be updated. And GD mods, though inefficiently in my opinion, already take care of this if they create those themselves in the first place. The second is quite generic, may I say, considering this community keeps making drama on the most random things ever, that X sub-community likes and that Y sub-community dislikes. So if you really care about the community falling into less dramas all the time, just grow up and mature, not complain because a creator decided to create a level with a CBF blocker. After all of this has been said, the CBF blocker that probably sparked it all, the No-Escapes one, could really have been less hateful, and it's not at all different from a death effect that just tells you suck. Which is what I do not endorse, and Kiba should have really made the message not as stupid. CBF blockers are neither useless nor immoral, because as we discussed they aren't, and creators should be free to put whatever anti-cheat they want in their own levels, whatever top players may scream about. After discussing both the legitimacy of CBF and CBF blockers, I'd like to discuss a different but more related matter. Is cheating wrong? Most of you would argue it is, but the actual answer is much more complicated and deeper than what you may think. And that mainly depends on one main factor. Is the game a single player or multiplayer game? In GD's case, which we can easily argue is a single player game at its core, cheating is inherently malicious. But it's about having fun, and having fun is probably the core of any video game, or game in general for that matter. People have fun grinding levels, people have fun grinding creator points, people have fun being legit, and others instead have fun cheating, because it is at the end part of the fun. Think of it, have you ever cheated in a single player game? I honestly struggle to believe your answer is no. Of course, this means that using CBF will undoubtedly get you banned from the in-game leaderboards, and rightfully so, as that is part of the multiplayer side of Geometry Dash. And using CBF, as we've established, provides an advantage over vanilla gameplay, which is unfair. This being said, doesn't mean game sub-communities shouldn't treat CBF how they want. There are already cases of sub-communities having different rules from the main game, one example with being Minecraft with all its different servers, and we have already seen sub-communities in GD do the same, mainly the pro-playing scene like the PointerCrate demo list. Of course this should be done considering the in-game consequences, which PointerCrate has not done, as their policy on CBF is really counterproductive. To recap all of this video, yes, CBF is indeed cheating by game standards, and people who use it should be banned from the game leaderboards. But it's not inherently bad to use it, or to cheat in general. If you can have more fun without the global rank or whatever, nothing is going to stop you from going for it. Of course this means that the fucking internet crusade on CBF users must end, as should the opposite. This only spreads toxicity and splits an already divided community even more. Thanks for watching the video to the end, and if you are interested in more videos like this, like and subscribe. In the description are Wikipedia's page for cheating in video games, the link to Kiba's Pastebin, and the link to Geod's main website, where you can download the Geode modulator. Bye people.